Political system in India as elsewhere includes not merely the formal governmental structure, executive, legislature, and judiciary at the union, state, and the local levels. It also encompasses in itself the informal structure, the political parties, and the like. It is to this formal and informal structure that we now attend to. Government at the union level. The union government consists of the executive president, vice president, and council of ministers, and the like. The legislature, parliament, and the judiciary, the Supreme Court. Union executive, the President of India. The President is the head of the state. The Constitution vests all the executive powers of the Union government in him. Article 53, he exercises these powers either directly himself or through officers subordinate to him. Article 53, qualification candidate for the office of the President must be a citizen of India, should have completed 35 years of age, must possess qualification required for membership of the Lok Sabha, must not hold any office or profit under the government of India, state government or local authority. However, the following offices are not considered as offices of profit: President and Vice President, the Governor of a state, Minister of Union or State. Article 58. The name of a candidate for the post of a President must be proposed by 50 electors and second by at least 50 electors. He has also to deposit a security of rupees 15,000 for contesting elections. Election: the president is indirectly elected through an electoral college consisting of the elected members of both the houses of the parliament and elected members of all the state legislative assemblies. The constitution provides that as far as practicable, there shall be uniformity in the skill of representation among the states as a whole and the union. This is sought to be achieved by providing that every elected member of the legislative assembly of a state shall have as many votes as there are multiples of 1000 and the quotient obtained by dividing the population of the state by the total number of elected members of the assembly. Article 54. 55. This can be explained in the form of the following formula: population of the state upon elected members of the state legislative assembly divided by 1000. If by this division the remainder is 500 or more, it will be counted as 1 and the vote of each member is increased by 1. Likewise, the number of votes which each elected member of parliament shall be entitled to cast shall be determined by dividing the total number of votes of the legislative assemblies of all the states by the total number of elected members of both the houses of the parliament. This can be explained in the form of the following formula: total number of votes assigned to all the elected MLAs upon total number of elected MPs. If in this division the remainder exceeds 1/2, it will be counted as 1. The election is held through the system of proportional representation by means of single transferable vote. The candidate receiving absolute majority of the first preference votes is declared elected. However, if no candidate receives an absolute majority of the first preference votes, the ballots of the candidate securing the least number of the first preference votes are cancelled and his second preference votes transferred. This process is followed till some candidate secures an absolute majority of votes. In the 14th presidential elections held in July 2012, the contest was between Pranab Mukherjee, a United Progressive Alliance (UPA) supported candidate, and PA Sangama, supported by the National Democratic Alliance. NDA combined. The presidential election is conducted through a system of proportional representation by means of a single transferable vote. The candidate receiving absolute majority, just more than 50%, is declared elected. In this case, Pranab Mukherjee secured 7,13,555 votes and P. Sangama got 3,16,195 votes, according to V.K. Agnihotri, returning officer and Secretary General. Rajya Sabha. Pranab Mukherjee was sworn in as the 13th President of India. Dr. Rajendra Prasad was President twice, only July 25 at an impressive ceremony in Rashtrapati Bhavan. Disputes regarding presidential elections. All disputes in connection with the election of the President are required into and decided by the Supreme Court, and its decision is final. It is noteworthy that the election of the President or the Vice President cannot be challenged on the ground of existence of any vacancy on whatever reason in the Electoral College electing him. Oath. Before entering office, the President has to take an oath or an affirmation in the presence of the Chief Justice of India, or in his absence, the senior most judge of the Supreme Court available. In his oath or affirmation, the President undertakes to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution and the law, and to devote himself to the service and well-being of the people of India. Article 60. Term and emoluments. The President holds office for a term of 5 years from the date on which he enters office. Article 56. He is eligible for re-election. Article 57. But generally the President does not hold office for more than 2 terms. So far, only the President, Dr. Rajendra Prasad, has held office as President for 2 terms. The President can resign before the expiry of his term of 5 years by addressing his resignation to the Vice President. In 2008, the Government of India had increased the salary of the President to rupees 1.5 lakh every month. About rupees 22.5 crore budget is spent annually on his upkeep. In addition to this, he is entitled to other allowances and privileges, including free official residence with free electricity and water, telephone, card facilities, and secretarial assistance. On retirement, the President is entitled to a person of rupees 9 lakh per annum. The President's Secretariat is headed by the Secretary, who is assisted by a team of officials. The Secretariat performs tasks relating to constitutional, administrative, hospitality services, petitions on wide-ranging subjects from general public, all matters requiring attention of the President, matters relating to executive powers, are received by the Secretariat through respective ministries once the President has assented to the proposed course of action. The files go back to the concerned ministries. Impeachment. The President can be removed from office before the expiry of his term through impeachment. Impeachment proceedings can be initiated through a 14-day notice by either House of the Parliament on the grounds of violation of the Constitution. After impeachment charges have been framed by one House, the charges are investigated by the other House. If the other House, after due investigation, passes a resolution by a two-third majority of the total membership of the House that the charges have been sustained, the President stands impeached. Article 61. Vacancy. In case the office falls vacant due to the death, resignation, or removal of the incumbent, the Vice President acts as a President. In case the Vice President is also not available to discharge the duties of the office of the President, the Chief Justice of India acts as the President. Thus, Chief Justice M. Hidayatullah acted as President of India from 20th July 1969 to 24th August 1969. V.V. Giri, the then acting president, tendered his resignation to contest presidential elections. In the absence of the Chief Justice, the senior most judge of the Supreme Court acts as president. A person who acts as president is entitled to all the powers and privileges of the president. Fresh elections for the office of the president must be held within 6 months of the occurrence of vacancy. Article 65-62. Powers of the President. The powers of the President may be studied under the following heads. Executive powers. The President is the executive head of the state, and all executive actions of the Union government are undertaken in his name. Article 77. All important officials of the Union government are appointed by the President. Some important officials appointed by the President include the Prime Minister, the members of the Council of Ministers, the Chief Justice and judges of the Supreme Court and High Courts, Chairman and the members of the Union Public Service Commission (UPSC), Controller and Auditor General of India, Attorney General of India, governors of the states, members of the Finance Commission, ambassadors, and so forth. Legislative powers. As an integral part of the Parliament under Article 79, the President enjoys important legislative powers. He can summon and prorogue the sessions of the two houses and can dissolve the Lok Sabha. Article 85. He can address both the houses separately or jointly. Article 86. He addresses the first session of the Parliament after the general elections. Article 87. He nominates 12 members of the Rajya Sabha from persons who have distinguished themselves in arts, literature, science, social service, and so on. He nominates two members from the Anglo-Indian community to the Lok Sabha. If the community has not received adequate representation, all the bills passed by Parliament must receive his assent before they become the laws. The President can ask the Parliament to reconsider a bill, Article 111. If on reconsideration the Parliament repasses the bill, the President has to give his signature, Article 111. Thus, he enjoys only suspensive veto power and can be applied only to the non-money bills. However, with regard to constitutional amendments, the President has no veto power and it is obligatory for him to give assent to such bills. The President can enact laws through ordinances when the Parliament is in recess. In this regards, Article 123 of the Constitution provides that if at any time when both the houses of parliament are not in session, the president is satisfied that circumstances exist which render it necessary for him to take immediate action. He may promulgate such ordinances as the circumstances appear to him to require. It may be observed that the president can promulgate ordinances only on matters listed in the union list and the concurrent list. He can also issue ordinances on residuary subjects as well as the state list if the state is under president's rule. These ordinances possess the force of a law but must be approved by the parliament within 6 weeks of its reassembly. It may be noted that the ordinances differ from the act of parliament in three respects. They cannot be used for the amendment of the constitution. They have a temporary character and they must be replaced by a law of the parliament. Financial powers. All money bills can originate in the Lok Sabha only on the recommendation of the President. Article 110. The contingency fund of India have been placed at the disposal of the President. He can advance money out of this fund to meet unforeseen expenses and recover the same after due authorization by the Parliament. The President appoints a Finance Commission, Article 280, every 5 years to recommend distribution of taxes between the Union and state governments. Judicial powers. The President appoints the Chief Justice and judges of the Supreme Court and the State High Courts, Articles 124 to 17. He can grant a pardon, reprieve, respite, or remission of the punishment or commute the sentence of any person punished. Under the Union Law, Article 72, the President enjoys legal immunity and is not accountable to any court of law for anything done in the exercise of his official duties. Emergency power. The Constitution vests extraordinary powers in the President to deal with three types of emergencies. Emergency due to war or external aggression or armed rebellion, Article 352. Emergency arising out of failure of constitutional machinery in the state, Article 356. And emergency arising from the threat of to the financial stability or credit of the country, Article 360. During emergencies, the President comes to wield such extensive powers that critics of the Constitution describe them as threat to the democratic system of government. Military powers. As the Supreme Commander of the Defence Forces of India, the President appoints the Chiefs of the Army, Navy and Air Force. He also enjoys the power to declare war and conclude peace. Diplomatic powers. The President represents the country in international forums. He sends ambassadors to foreign countries and receives their diplomats. All international treaties and agreements are concluded on behalf of the President. However, these treaties and agreements are subject to by the Parliament.